Hey, everybody. I thought I'd bring in the theme song, the Pierre theme song. So welcome today. My name is Pierre Holsibus, and welcome to our LinkedIn live stream that we try to do every couple weeks. And today we've got some an awesome guests today with us. And it's Ivan from Resco. And so he's going to be part of our discussion today as we get into service management, service applications. We're going to make this is about as exciting as life gets, really, at the end of the day. Is we were talking about this a couple of weeks ago. I was at hey, Ivan. I was at a conference, and we had a session on integration with finance and operations, and you're like, this is like very exciting. You're trying to think like, well, the most like dry, boring kind of thing. And yet, you have people that are super passionate about, these topics. And I just love that part of our community and how it works, how we have people that are just, we can geek out over the biggest things to us, and yet our partners and spouses and friends have literally no clue what we do. They know we kind of work in computers, but they don't. Most average people on the street wouldn't know about Dynamics and CE integration, and yet we have people that have literally built their entire career on these kinds of things and are super passionate about the complexities of that, and are super specialized in it. So that's kind of one of the reasons I was I thought about bringing you guys in, is to talk a little bit about that, because when it comes to mobility in the Microsoft Dynamics platform and really Power Apps now and a lot of other things that we'll get into today, there's really not a company that has has that level of passion for mobility than you guys. And so anyways, Ivan, introduce yourself and the company, and let's talk about
Sure.
about
Thank
that
you,
today.
Pierre, and thanks a lot for inviting me and having me here. We were chatting a little bit before you pushed the go live button, and this was always one of my most favorite shows, because it's not only very informative and I always learn something new, but it's also lots of fun, lots of jokes, lots of laughs. So yeah, thanks so much for having me here today. My name is Ivan Stano. I've been with Resco my entire life, so I'm kind of ashamed to admit how long. It's been over 16 years. And currently, I manage our global sales. So since the end of last year, I took a new role, more of a global role, and trying to redesign and restart our sales operation, our sales team. So lots of fun, lots of challenges along the way, as people can probably relate a little bit. But it's been a ride, so no complaints.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's awesome. So let's talk a little bit about the company. I see you have some gray hairs, and you've said you've been at the company your entire life. So like, from a crib, or from when? What does that journey look
Oh,
like
the
for
gray
Resco?
hair, you can't, that doesn't lie, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So the company, it's been around since 1999, actually. So it's a really long time, right? Way over 2 decades. We're gonna close the third decade in a few years. But what was really unique about Resco was that since early 2000s, the focus was pure mobile. So mobile applications, mobile developer tools, even mobile games for a little fun part of it, for devices that some might remember, some might probably never heard of them, like Palm Pilots, the first versions of Pocket PCs, and things like that, right? So really the Trio, exactly. Palm Trio, very cool device. For the longest time, we had a collection of about 60, 80, maybe, these old devices that we were using for developer purposes in the office. It was like a little museum, which was fascinating. And then obviously the iPhone came and really changed the game. But I remember working with a bunch of people from Microsoft in like 2008, before that even, because we created this this library of components that allow to create Windows mobile application that looked like beauty, on par with the most most fascinating iPhone apps right after. So we got a lot of support from the Windows Mobile group back then at Microsoft, and they were pushing us because we really love the developers to create great looking at mobile applications, and that's where it started really. And then we moved on. We identified CRM as a great opportunity, great potential, so we stepped into that. And it really was our advantage that we spent almost a decade before developing these apps for devices that had, I don't know, 1 megabyte of memory, and they had to perform really well, right? And suddenly you had these devices that were almost on par with laptops and PCs, great performance, lots of power, computing power. And we're able to develop applications real quickly that were just like performing perfectly well. And that's that was the start of when we moved into CRM and our product called back then Mobile CRM, that seamlessly integrated with Microsoft Dynamics, and allowed companies to take data and people to the field without any restrictions and limitations.
Yeah. And when did you guys start doing the Salesforce? Because I know you also connected not only into Microsoft but into Salesforce. When did that also become?
Yeah, good question. I actually don't remember exactly, but it took us a few years. There was a little bit of a scare period for us at one point, because obviously there were competitors in on the mobile scene in dynamic space. Some people might remember there were a couple companies, one from Canada called 10 Digits, but their big bet was BlackBerry devices that probably nobody remembers, or very few people. So that kind of business plan didn't work out. But then there was a company from the Netherlands, CWR Mobility.
Oh, yeah.
If Eric's here, hi Eric. We had a multiple contacts at different events. Beginning kind of awkward. What are you guys doing? It just looks just like what we're doing. But I think in the end, that was a great story for the Microsoft Dynamics customers, because they had more options. Competition's good. We're kind of head to head, trying to innovate as quickly as possible. But at one point, there was like almost like a deal that CWR had with Microsoft. And that really scared us, and we decided like, oh, what are we gonna do? We need to really innovate quickly and find new avenues. So it could be, I guess, 2012, 2013, something like that. Yeah, that we decided let's look at other CRM systems, and we found out like, yeah, Salesforce is really quite successful globally. So we stepped into that.
Yeah. So a lot of people don't know that from the Microsoft side that, your platform actually it has the very similar to the Microsoft experience, a connector into Salesforce. You have a rationalized, a solution, and have a lot of this pretty much the same capabilities in terms of the robust offline components and all the other kind of stuff, technician self-scheduling, all of that, those components also.
Exactly. So from the architecture point of view, it was our kind of like key goal, make it as seamless as possible. So no middleware, no servers, no RESTCO, database in between, which gives the enterprises kind of peace of mind. They don't have to worry about their data stored somewhere, who knows where, right? And what's going to happen with that data. Same dynamics for Dynamics as for Salesforce. So the data only resides on the mobile device. And there's multiple tools how to manage that nowadays, right? Microsoft Intune or some other MDM solutions, or we even have a simple mobile application management capabilities within RESTCO. So that's great, and that allowed us to really focus on the key point, and that's the mobile experience for the people in the field. Bring lots of new features quickly across multiple platforms. That was our mantra as well. Whatever people and companies are using, we want to make sure RESTCO works there. So whether it's Windows, laptops. Funny fact, Pierre, do you want to guess how many of our users use RESTCO on a Windows device? Percentage-wise?
I would guess 30%.
Oh my God, you're right.
Am I? Yes.
Yeah,
See?
yeah, exactly. It's when we found out, I was kind of shocked. I thought it would be like a lot less.
Yeah.
But we're finding out that especially in the enterprise world, like Windows device, you just can't go around it. We have a lot of
Yeah.
customers who do inspections, maintenance of assets, right?
Yeah.
Or more complex equipment, and
Yeah.
they have to actually connect a cable to those
Yes.
machines
Yeah.
to run like a diagnostics and then
Yeah.
update firmware or software and things like
Yep.
that. And
Exactly.
good luck, good luck plugging it into your iPhone, right?
Yes, exactly. It's
So,
yes, I know. I've seen, you go out on site and we do different, kind of site visits with customers and kind of shadow their
mhm,
technicians. So yeah, they pull out that USB cable to the old RS-232 connection,
exactly.
the old serial port connectors. Like this is what you hooked your modem up with in the
Mhm,
80s. I mean, it's that old kind of technology. But like
mhm,
you said, it's in a lot of those companies that their OT infrastructure isn't connected to the internet for a lot
exactly.
of reasons. And
Lots
so,
of
yeah, you can,
reasons.
yeah,
Sometimes they're in areas where there's very limited connectivity,
yep,
basements,
yep,
like underground, or a very typical use case is healthcare, right? There are
yeah,
in hospitals where you can't have strong Wi-Fi's and
yeah,
5G, 6G networks, right? And they have to
yeah,
do it. And some of these equipment they have to service for 10 years, 20 years as
yep,
part of the SLA. So
yep.
it's not going to go away that quick.
Yeah, they built custom apps, often to do
Yes.
like the readings and adjustments for those. And so, yeah, those run on the other thing I think too, even in a modern workplace, a lot of companies, this is a discussion that we always have as a partner with a customer. What kind of platform are you doing, and
Mhm,
how are you enabling your techs in the field, or your engineers or whomever it is? A lot of them would rather just have that single device. And so, yeah, when you look at the Microsoft Surface, I
mhm,
bought one in the fall, like the tablet, like that is an amazing piece of
mhm.
tech, in terms of how long they stay on battery, like days, and you get all of the rich Windows features and a managed device. And so IT, I think,
Absolutely.
really has a lot of
It's
love for
sleek,
that. I
it's
can really
light,
see it.
it doesn't feel
Yeah,
like you're carrying
it's
a big
amazing.
brick, right? They're really
Yeah,
thin. Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. You're
Yeah,
100%
and
right.
they're not very as expensive as they used to be. And so yeah, for like, $1,200 now, you can
Mhm,
have a pretty rich, like that's all you would need.
mhm,
I didn't get the one that had LTE. So a lot of
uh-huh,
them have, like they have one model that has an eSIM in it, and
mhm,
will connect to a cellular. So it's literally a phone, but a Windows, it's what a Windows phone wanted to
uh-huh.
be, I think, in some ways.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned Eric, because I remember I have a vivid memory of Eric, and maybe we'll get him to come in one time and just talk about his journey, because it is an amazing thing. But I remember being at one of the, I think it was the second CRM user group meeting in Chicago, out at some hotel in like 2003, and it was his first time in the United States.
Mhm,
And I had a big American GM Suburban truck at the time. And so, because I live close to Chicago, so we drove over there. Anyway, so it was, I brought him and a bunch of other folks. We went downtown to go have pizza. Like that was the big thing in Chicago. You got to go have the big deep dish pizza. So we took a trip down, and yeah, and he was, at the time, they were like you guys too, really closely aligned with Microsoft
mhm,
around their mobile operating system. And it was just before, like he was showing me a little Windows phone that was like he was
mhm.
working on the dev platform, like very cool stuff. It had just before it had come out, and so they were showing him previews of all of the new Metro operating system and
Mhm,
the whole
mhm.
strategy. It's pretty amazing. So
Those were great
uh,
devices. I used to
yeah,
have a Nokia Windows phone. It was
yeah,
the UI, it was just, yeah,
yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, it's interesting. You have a lot of that's an interesting whole discussion. There's been a lot of interviews with Ballmer and Steve Ballmer and folks, Bill Gates recently, and this topic always seems to come up in those discussions, those public discussions about, if you regret one thing, what would it be? And that it's that whole, that is definitely a business case, like MBA kind of like
Yeah, it's taught at schools
study, like
100%. Yeah.
taught at school, like what went wrong with this,
Mhm.
and why did that fall apart? So that
Mhm.
was like really, yeah. But you're spot on too. I was very committed to that to ecosystem, but
Mhm.
it was very cool. So yeah, I would love to. I still have one of those cyan blue,
Mhm.
Nokia
Yes.
phone,
Yes, yes, yes.
polycarbonate. Those are just a
Kind
great.
of like a silicon back and
Yeah,
like a little curvy display.
yeah,
I love that phone.
yeah, yeah. I love that phone. It was great. Um, yeah, I would love to get it. I wonder if it would boot up now. I wonder. I'm gonna have to try it now. I'm gonna try it. Try
I
it.
think it will. Nokia
I
was
think-
like really famous for the quality, right? And you could
yeah.
like hammer
Oh
nails and
yeah.
it would still work.
Yeah, it's in one of my drawers. So every time I open up one of my drawers, it's my closet. So it's one of
Uh-huh.
my drawers. Like, oh, there's that phone. So it just reminds me, of that.
Uh-huh.
I love it. One of the questions before we start talking about tech, really, you talked about, you guys have been around for a long time. And I know we have a lot of folks that are in sales and leadership and, have been in the business for a long time, or are just starting too. But you guys, what would you give? What would you say, are some of the things about the culture, or, what is some of the secret sauce that your company has had to, like we're talking about a long history, and there's been so many changes and barriers and updates and
Yeah.
all these different things that have happened along the way. And yet here you guys are like the last man standing. I don't want to say it that way because that sounds like, survivor or something like that. You
Yeah.
survived the storms, but guys are survivors, and there's something that's unique or special about your team that you put together that like, what is it that is that je ne sais pas, the
Secret,
thing,
yeah,
Randy, the
secret sauce,
secret
right?
sauce.
And I hope I don't say too much, that you send me some of the questions in advance, and I'm so
Yeah.
glad you did this one because it really got me thinking this morning. Because like when you're just like busy every day, you don't really think too much about like why or what happened over the last 2 decades plus. So I gave it some thought, and the best answer I really have is probably like 3 reasons, and maybe a fourth one on top as a bonus. So I don't know how many people know, but Resco is actually a company from Slovakia, which is Central Eastern Europe, part of EU. We have euro currency. It's a very modern country, but there always was something, and it's connected with the culture, Slovakia, and people. There was always something in the Resco people.
Mm.
They wanted to succeed on the global level. Like there was never an ambition to be like a local company, working on maybe the local market or the neighboring countries, etc. There was always this drive to make a mark in the entire world, and that's what I admired about Resco when I joined. I was still at school when I joined Resco, and I was like, wow, this company really stands out. Like they don't think about anything local. They don't think about this small region here. Their plans are, we want to go to America. We want to succeed there. We want to go to Western Europe. We want to go to Australia. We want to be global. And this is what was part of the people, like this not cocky, like I think very like natural,
Yeah.
but this ambition in there, right?
Mhm.
And the second thing was, and it's part of the people again, like this innovative spirit, right? We never said no to something. It was always this curious mind in people. Like some people might remember Google Glass. When Google Glass
Oh, yeah.
came out,
Oh,
this device that you would put on and will give you all the information
yeah.
instantly, and you could scan whatever and record videos, take pictures. I remember I was managing our relationship with Gartner back then, the research company. I was calling all the Gartner analysts, telling them like, so we have this great product, Resco works on Google Glass. It's going to be completely like disruptive. What's that? Is it the Meta?
It's the Meta. Yeah, I
Yeah,
got
yeah.
my Meta glasses
And
that
I
I wear.
remember Gartner people were looking at me like, are you crazy? Nobody's using Google Glass. It's probably going to go away. And then whatever next device there was, Epson had a couple of those devices.
Yeah, that's true.
RealWear
Mhm.
is still
Yep.
around trying to do that. Microsoft and HoloLens, right? We had a
Yep.
special version of Resco running in the
You did. Yeah.
HoloLens, supporting all the gestures and voice commands and everything. So, or one year I remember. Do you remember Microsoft Convergence shows? Definitely, right? And
Sure. Sure.
most
Sure.
people probably do. We always
Mhm.
met a bunch of people from Microsoft, and were telling us
Mhm.
like, "This is the device of the future."
Sure.
Amazon Kindle
Oh
Kindle
yeah.
Fire, that little
Yeah.
really cheap tablet, super
Yeah.
slow. So we created a version that worked there. So what I'm trying to say, like, there was this drive, like whatever
Mhm.
new, whatever we can put our hands on, we're gonna try it out and see where it goes. So that was part of people's kind of nature and how we an attitude and how we approach things. And the last thing, it was luck. I think a lot of luck. Like, I thought we were out of business at one point, but we persevered, actually invested. So yeah, some luck,
That's exciting.
lots of
Yeah,
attitude, and
it's
vision.
true.
Vision, right? That we always
Yeah.
had. Like, we don't want to be a regional small company. Let's take it.
Yeah.
Let's take it big. And it paid off over the years. I think we have over 600, 700 customers around the globe. We work with, you know, companies that have 4,000 technicians out on the road every
Yeah.
day. We used to have, I like to say that we covered every continent we could. Unfortunately, the company left us, but we worked with a company in tourism business, and they were bringing people to Antarctica on their ships and do adventure tourism there. And they
Mm.
were using Resco for a bunch of different purposes,
Okay.
because obviously the satellite connection was quite expensive back then, and there was just no connectivity. So yeah, fun stuff,
Yeah.
and a lot of fun along the way as well. Like,
Yeah.
mm,
Yeah, I've got to, that you guys do a conference in this every year, in different
mhm.
parts, and so yeah, I've got to go to a couple of those, and that to meet your team, they're so positive and
And
uplifting, and
passionate, yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
it's
Yeah, we just
very
had Rescott
yeah.
Next in that's the name of the conference, in
Mhm.
Valencia, Spain, 2-3 weeks ago, maybe. It
Yeah.
was pretty awesome. Yeah, heard a
Did you
lot
have
of
some
customer
oranges?
stories. Or of course, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. We missed you. We
Valencia
missed you,
oranges.
Pierre, for
Yeah.
sure. The reception was at like a wine farm and orange farm just outside of
Oh,
Valencia. It
nice.
was beautiful,
Yeah.
beautiful, and we were really lucky with the weather as well.
Yeah.
So that was
It is
nice.
something. Spain does have the best oranges in the world.
And especially the Valencia area, like, they're
Yeah,
really known
that's
for
like
the
the
oranges.
I know, it's weird. It's
Mhm.
weird
I
because you
think it's
think,
like a little microclimate there.
yeah.
It's always something
I
special.
In America, you're growing up we grew up with Minute Maid,
Mhm,
the frozen orange juice, and that
mhm.
was it was is it made from Valencia oranges. So,
Okay. Uh-huh.
didn't even know what that meant, when I was a kid, but, Valencia oranges. Look, then later on, you find out they basically had Valencia oranges in Florida, and so they were Florida, which,
Uh-huh.
when you drive through Florida in the summer, and there's tons. I mean, it's the kind of the orange capital of
Uh-huh.
America. I don't know how their numbers, but then my first trip to Europe, and especially into Spain, you have fresh squeezed orange juice everywhere at
Mhm.
every restaurant and hotel and it's like, oh, this is the best, literally the best orange juice I've ever had in my life. It's
Mhm.
amazing.
Yeah, I had a couple
Okay.
of drinks where the orange was a big part of it. I totally
Sure.
recommend to try Agua de Valencia.
There you go. There you go. Yeah. So yeah, I kind of missed that conference. That was kind of bummed out about that one. But no, yeah, I agree. There's something, and I'm a little bit of a not a little bit. I love history. And so yeah, when you talk about the literally the region that, the country, like how innovation was such an important part of life back, when resources were super limited, under the Soviet, Union, and how anybody that was doing anything back then had to be super resourceful and resilient, and in the face of so much crap that they had to deal with, and the lack of resources, and that culture, I think, maintains in so many of the former Soviet states.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, and we were part of Czechoslovakia. That usually
yeah,
rings a bell with people.
yeah,
I think that that was something special about that country. We didn't split, but
Yeah,
there was like a
yeah.
proof of quality almost. Like if something came
Mhm.
from Czechoslovakia, it had a brand.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that. Well, we talked a lot, and I can talk all day about the Resco history, but let's talk about kind of some of the mobility stuff and where that really makes a difference for you
Mhm,
guys. So we talked a little about how mobile is now really a part of such a the lifeblood of so many companies, especially people don't work in an office anymore. We
mhm,
just downsized our physical office
mhm.
in Atlanta area to a much smaller. We had an office. Everybody used to go in there, and then post COVID, no one goes in there, and everybody works remote, right? And so now our office shrunk the last couple of weeks to a different place. And so people are always mobile, and of course, the workforce demands a lot of technology out in the field, as we're saying. A lot of the engineers and folks that do the hard work out in the field. So, how do you guys think about that from a mobile first approach? Do you think about it from a mobile first, or is it like this kind of hybrid model, or what do you guys when you think of personas and your users? Who are
Uh,
the kind of core
yeah,
users of that?
100% mobile first, and it's a pretty much that's the DNA of Resco, right? Like we talked about it history, so I don't want to go back there, but that's how Resco started, like mobile applications, mobile developer tools. So we always think about it as mobile first because, but that's what we also what we're learning from our customers and the organizations we work with, like the people who use Resco, they don't usually have a big screen, right? Like I'm using on my desk, I have a large monitor display here, and I have my secondary screen. I have this comfortable position with large real estate that I can use. People in the field don't have it. Usually they have one device and they have to do everything with that device. So that's really what's driving us, this understanding that people in the field don't have the benefit of many screens, big screens, etc., multiple screens. They have one tool, one mobile device that has to work and perform when they need it, and they usually need it when they do the work, right? That we're coming back to that big topic, I think, where that Resco is known for, and it's the offline capabilities and the
Mhm.
performance in disconnected situations. Uh, Lots of times I hear like offline. Yes, that's where you better you have your good offline. So you work in dead zones. And I get it. I just don't like this story because it's not the whole story. It's not about
Yeah.
working in disconnected situations. It's actually,
Mhm.
in my opinion, it's a user experience thing. Like how
Yep.
good the application performs. And it doesn't have to be when you have no signal, but maybe you have one bar, right? Or suddenly the connectivity drops to 2G and it's becoming a little increasingly tougher and more challenging to navigate through the screens and fill in the data, collect the data, and things like that. So all of that goes away with Resco because we actually encourage all of our customers to utilize offline first approach, even though your device
Mhm.
might have connectivity, but just the app performance goes so much higher. It just improves the usability of the app, the performance, and the overall user experience. So yeah, couple
Absolutely.
thoughts there.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that's kind of impressive, because when we think of mobility, sometimes we just think of the tech, but I know you guys have really expanded the vision of that out to sales teams, out
Mhm,
to inspectors and customers. You have kind of customer facing apps as a way to develop and deploy stuff.
mhm,
So that's a pretty interesting thing. When you think about that mobile first approach, you kind of don't just think of technicians in the field from a field service
mhm,
standpoint, and that's one of the cool things to see the solution evolve over the years
mhm,
to enabling a whole raft of different individual personas, not just a
mhm.
tech that's sitting out there at the
Exactly.
whole.
I have
Yeah.
a funny fact for you, but I'll phrase it as a question because you're really good so far. Do you want to guess like how many Resco customers use Resco for sales?
Oh, that's a good question. Now, I would
Because
guess, I
most
don't
of
know.
us think as the field service mobile guys, right?
Yeah,
Because of the
yeah. I
relationship,
would
the
say
partnership we have.
20%. Higher,
Mhm,
30% higher than that.
mhm.
50? Are you then at 50,
It's
50?
close to 40. It's close to
Wow.
40. But many people really have kind of put us in the department or
Yes.
compartment like, yeah, Resco is the field service mobility guys, and that's what
Right.
they do. But it's actually really almost just like a half of the story, right? We have so many customers using Resco for sales, like traveling sales engines, sales reps, uh, doing a lot of sales type of work, right? Where I'm managing my activities, taking orders, perhaps.
Mhm.
We have a really strong routing and map functionality that allows people to really streamline
Mhm.
their daily trips, which is kind of essential in sales where you have to visit number
Yeah.
of different customers in a day. So yeah, that's funny. About 50% is field service, and the rest 10% I would put it in a I don't know, folder of maybe like a mixed, very custom,
Mhm.
unique approach.
Sure.
Unfortunately, I'm not allowed to name the name, but we work with the
Sure.
biggest um non-governmental organization in the world that has the
Sure.
headquarters in New York City. So probably
Yeah.
everybody knows
The
who that
funny
is,
shaped
right?
building.
Yeah. And they use Resco in over 100 countries around the world for refugee identification and registration purposes.
Mhm.
And it's anywhere from Brazil, the rest of South America, Central
Mhm.
America, Africa, Ukraine, and the last few years, where there's a lot of movement of refugees and people without
Mhm.
documentation. And they're able to actually set up the refugee camps right at the borders where there's we took a trip once to Nigeria, I believe, a few years
Mm.
ago, to actually
Mhm.
see
Mhm.
how such refugee camp looks, and it was mind blowing because it was a bunch of trucks that came, set up tents, brought diesel generators so they could actually have electricity, set up the field offices, and they processed for weeks and weeks and weeks people who were crossing that border right there,
Mm.
put everything in the system, including the 10 fingerprints, the retina scan, all the personal information into the system. And then once every week, they took one laptop, drove for several hours to a local town, and sent all the information over the air through the satellite connection to their main servers. And
Wow.
now they're
That's
used the
amazing.
Cisco solution in over 100 countries around the world, and we're a big part of that story. And it making us really proud that we can help the to
Yeah.
ease or really make that process that's really painful for people who are in need.
Yeah.
So that's just one there. But what was the question? See, I
Yeah.
forgot the question already. I
No,
got
that, yeah, we were just
even
talking
my
about the
thoughts.
diversity that you have,
Yeah,
in users, right?
exactly. So that would be
It,
one. Or the
yeah.
recently we published a case study with Women for Women, another fantastic organization helping women in tough regions and tough countries and tough parts of the world. They do a lot of educational programs with them, support and help to women, and
Mhm.
they use Resco tools to help them do that process faster and better. Right? They don't have to spend hours and hours putting something on paper and then in the evening retyping it into the system. They do it right on the spot, and I really encourage people to look up that case study on our website. It just
Wow.
came out a couple of weeks ago. Beautiful story. So that would be in the category like, yeah, it's not really sales, it's not really field service or inspections.
Mhm.
It's somewhere on its own, but beautiful, beautiful stories.
That's awesome.
Mhm.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's great to have good customers, isn't it? And,
And we
yeah.
were lucky. We actually had Women for Women at ResConnect in Valencia. So everybody who was there could hear the story firsthand. It
Wow.
was
That's
really touching.
amazing.
Mhm. Yeah, but inspections is also a big part of it. This is actually where we're
Mhm.
making a lot of investment. We see that inspection is really like it has growing potential. We see that it's making changes, and that's our big focus right now.
Sure. Sure, sure, sure. Well, why don't we take a minute to maybe take a peek at the solution, and then we can dive into some of the technical stuff on the back end. But as you're prepping there, thinking about, I think about it like that too. That I think about it operationally, like we have sales and and service or customer service kind of all in one. And it's really a mobility play, so to speak, for, the heart and soul of that kind of cadre of users. And that service operations extends from, technician in front of a machine to, someone coming out and doing a fire inspection, or, post incident recovery, or like you're saying, inspections is such a really big kind of core part of a lot of the work that's being done. So yeah, let's see if you got a chance here to.
Okay, live
connect
demo,
with-
no pressure.
Yeah, live demo, man. Here you go.
Okay. Let's try.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens. Just let me know if it comes up or when it comes up.
All right, here we go.
Hurry up.
There you go.
Hey, thanks for that little intro. That's
Yes, exactly.
so. What we've been playing a lot with actually is using Resco without dynamics, and have the backend, instead of having dynamics, which is kind of robust and lots of functionality, right? Lots of value. We also identified a lot of scenarios where customers have dynamics, but not for all their users in the field, because perhaps they don't need all that complexity and all those bells and whistles. So we created a full integration with Power Platform and Dataverse as the backend. So what I'm going to show you is like a simplified version of the mobile experience for people who, let's say, have to do a lot of data collection in the field, but they don't need all the robust functionality from Dynamics, like field service or sales or customer service, etc. And perhaps they'd be fine with a very simple backend revolving around some assets, accounts, contacts, where they can run inspections on top of that. So that's going to be my demo. By the way, I'm using a real app. This is my device right here, where I have the Resco mobile application running. And this is how we see most of the customers kind of follow a very similar path. So in the morning, I wake up, I say like, oh, what's ahead of me? So I have my work at the very top of the screen, which is pretty much a calendar. So I see, okay, today, 4 jobs, right? One at Coho Winery, one at Blue Yonder Airlines, Adventure Works, and then the A.Datum Corporation. At the bottom of the screen, I can switch it to different views, so I can see in my entire week, my entire month, etc. And with Resco, we can also combine the personal calendar. So if you have any prearrangements or any blockers, you would see them in one view as well. I can also open up the details, so I can see like, okay, what's this job about? You can see it's part of a project, regular patient visit, the owner, start time, end time, and some details underneath. So I have a good idea about what my day looks like and what to expect. I think I mentioned it that we also have very strong capabilities in routing and navigation. So let me just quickly show you that. Because I have to drive to all these locations, we bring you that capability of seeing these on a map. So what you see here is Boston, greater Boston area. I'm just north of Boston. And these little pins represent different records, right? It could be projects, it could be assets, it could be accounts, contacts, anything that you can assign a physical location to, we can display on a map. And if you remember on the calendar, I had actually 4 jobs scheduled for today. And that's why you see the 4 little gray pins there, numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And this is where I have to go. The blue line then shows me how to get there. It's a pretty crazy driving. If anybody's familiar with Boston traffic situation, this would probably kill you after stop 2, because we have some of the worst traffic in the nation. But hopefully that will improve at some point. But what's even better, we also provided full integration with map apps. So if you use Google Maps, Apple Maps, or perhaps Waze, Pierre, are you a Waze fan? Do you like to do 1 million?
Yeah, I've used Waze. I've used Waze a couple of times. Yeah, I have. I like that. Yeah.
So
the social path, yeah.
Well, we support that as well. So if I tap on the 3 little dots in the right upper corner, I have the option to navigate. So what that does is it opens my default map application. In my case, it's Google Maps, and we push all those points into Google Maps automatically. The only difference is that for some reason Google names them A, B, C, D, and we just number them, but you can see the same thing right here. The good thing here is you get the real traffic information. If you want to avoid some like detours, or maybe you need to avoid railroad crossings, ferries, and things like that, you can set it up all there. And then as soon as you hit the start button, it's the step-by-step navigation that many of us are probably very, very familiar with. You can just run it on your dashboard in the car. Good. So that would bring me in the most efficient way to my stops. And now I have different ways how to work with the application. One quick example, some of our customers say our people really love to kind of get the full context, the full picture before they actually enter the site. So they can go into the accounts. I think one of them was the first one, A-Datum Corporation. So if I open that one, in one spot, I see all the important details, right? So I see the contacts. Who do I work with here? Maybe Susan is the owner. I should make sure that I visit Susan while I'm here. But what's even more important, I also see some history. So if you see here in the center of the screen, I have the inspections panel where I see all the inspections that we've done over the time at this particular account. Some of them are completed, some of them have never been completed, hence the little red tag. I also see some reports, and these are all accessible. So if I open this one, I can see what exactly happened here, what's going on, signature, etc. So I can get myself really ready for whatever's ahead of me, right? So if I go back here, I'll show you one inspection, and that will be the rep, so I don't bore people too much. So let's say I'm here, I arrived, I know what to expect, I see some history, so should be pretty familiar with what needs to be done. I'm ready to collect some data. I tap on the little plus button in line with the inspection panel. What you see here is a list of different types of questionnaires. We support any number of questionnaires that the teams might need. And based on the type of inspection, let's say I choose the installment protocol, right? The second from the top. We also support here, example, different languages. So you can have the same questionnaire in different languages. Here's an example of the default one is in English. The second one is in Polish. But let's use the English one because my Polish is kind of limited. And here's an example of how that questionnaire looks, right? We pre-populate as much data as we can. So we automatically store the date. It's assigned to a customer, Coho Winery. Here I would identify the equipment that I'm going to be inspecting. You can see that little QR button here because we support barcodes, QR codes. We actually just had a beautiful customer story with a large oil and gas company. They do asset inspection in oil rigs, and they showed us the picture of how the asset looks after 2 weeks in operation. You can't even tell what it is because it's covered in dust and sun and oil and grease and everything. Yeah. It was impossible to read the barcode, so they equipped all the assets with RFIDs. We provided, in a couple of days, we made a connection to Zebra RFID devices that we integrated with the Resco app. They come on the oil rig, they push the button, the Zebra scanner scans all the RFIDs, all the assets in the area, and they just can go one by one and inspect it like that. Like, beautiful. Awesome. It's saving them hours a day, which is really wonderful. And here you can see support for pictures. We actually have some customers who might take up to 200 pictures per inspection, Pierre. Now let's multiply that by several inspections per day, and let's say a few dozens of inspectors. You're talking about terabytes of pictures in a month. But we're able to do it and fully offline. And then, as you can see, some quick answers, color coding, no big deal. Tagged images, we have support for, you can not only take a picture, but you can add some visual clues on it. Let me see if this one works. So I tap on that little black camera, choose the option to capture picture. Let's take a picture of my keyboard right here. And before I save it, I can actually tap on this little plus button in the right upper corner. Not sure it's visible. And that gives me an option to add, oops, to add a little, there we go, little tags. So for example, if on this picture we had an oil cylinder, the one with the green tag, what I'm doing for the folks who can't see me or my hands, I'm just grabbing that green one and I can put it anywhere on the picture. So let's say on key number 4, and maybe a steel cable on the space button, a lifting arm up here. So this way, we not only allow you to take a picture, but you can add these little annotations in a visual way on top of it. And then you can even say, yeah, is this one okay or not, right? Maybe this one is okay. The steel cable is okay as well. And the last one, lifting arm, maybe that one's okay as well. So really quick way to do it. So let's say here we go. You can see stored right there. Of course, ability to take signatures. So maybe I'll sign it as an inspector that I've done it, and maybe I'll ask Susan here for her signature to approve that I showed up and actually was there. Some conclusion. You can see these in the red color because those are mandatory questions, so I can't really skip those. And at the bottom, I have 2 big buttons. I can just save it, or I can complete it with a report, and I'll choose that option. And what we can do, we can generate a PDF document completely offline. By the way, this works as well, where you can see those signatures right here and my answers as well. And I just hit save and close, and you can see inspections is completed, green, little green button or sign next to it, and I can just complete the job. And just like that, I'm done there. So hopefully it wasn't too long or too boring, but just a quick example how Resco really can simplify the work and navigate the users to really skip any crazy things or crazy workflows. Everything available at a couple of tabs. Added value through the mapping, routing, the calendar options. And then when it comes to inspections, I think we really figured it out. We have one really challenging case. It's a customer from Benelux. It's a company that only does inspections. Third quiz question, Pierre. How many inspections do you think they do a year?
That's what are they inspecting?
Let's say it can be anything, but mostly like industrial things.
Okay, so it depends on obviously how many people they have, but yeah, from inspection standpoint, 5 a day. I don't know. Maybe let's say 10,000. Okay. I'm sure it's way more than that.
It's 2 million.
2 million. Yeah, there you go.
Year. It's crazy. Like, yeah. It's probably the most I've ever seen or heard. It's working, and it's working really well. So we're actually,
that's amazing.
Hopefully, awesome. I won't tell too much, but we're in the process of working on a case study with them because I think it's so unique, and like what Microsoft Technologies and Resco allow them to do is out of this world.
Yeah, one of my first Resco projects was inspections, and the solution was customers were doing the inspections, which was really interesting because that kind of scenario where you had customers that just need to do their own kind of inventory and inspection of an asset instead of having somebody come out and do it. You can easily have a customer engineer run through the tests instead of bringing somebody out, and then they would respond appropriately as a manufacturer if there was issues, but it would keep the customer record up to date. It's kind of cool. But yeah,
exactly.
The asset tagging.
They don't have to send out the people, right? Their own people.
Yeah, exactly. The asset tagging is really unique. That ability to, before we save the picture, to kind of fix it, so to speak, or make the right notes on it. And that is super powerful. I see that's part of your PCF library. So I wanted to give you a chance maybe to talk a little bit about that too, because that's another area. A lot of the for folks that are maybe new to the tech side of this, the form controls is such a big part of this. And often for a lot of developers is that's the thing, like your user experience. You don't want to give that away. And yet you guys have kind of taken the stance, those kind of form controls, like the one that you just showed, the image tagging,
Mhm.
is part of a library you guys have for
Yeah,
PCF.
yeah. We did a bit of a. Feel like it's like a community service a little bit. Try to
Yeah.
enhance the possibilities when app makers are creating their Power Apps or other experiences on top of Power Platform. So we created a bunch of these PCF components based on our knowledge and based on our expertise and experience. The two that really stand out for me are the hierarchy control that Microsoft disconnected last year, which is kind of creating a little bit of pressure for companies who incorporated it into their applications and what to do now and what's the future path. So we're seeing some traction there. And one that is probably my favorite is the scheduling component. It's more robust. It's not a simple component, right? But it allows you to bring scheduling capabilities anywhere across Power Platform. Fully configurable, quite powerful. Not on par with RSO, and that's not the goal, of course, right?
Yeah.
But for simple scheduling things like jobs,
Yeah.
tasks, maybe appointments, things like that, that really, really, really nice.
Yeah, you have some Kanban controls. Like some of these people might look at their schedule more, not so much on like this is what I'm doing
On a
right now.
timeline, but more like different stages
More
or
like what stages am I
process.
at? Where yeah, and so that's one that Microsoft has chosen to put that in only certain areas. And work orders is not one of them. So you can't take like you had, like my work view, you were showing it on a calendar, but some of the customers might want to see it by stage. Like we're at this stage and I've got 3, I'm waiting. Like they might not be mobile and working out in the field. They might just be, I'm going to put that in, the shop somewhere. And this is the service bay. Or as a technician working in the thing, I've got, I'm working on 5 different things right now. We're waiting on parts for that one. You're looking at it from a less of a schedule and much more of a, what am I juggling right now? What's the next best thing I can do with my time right now? It's really interesting. Yeah, I think the PCF control stuff that you guys have done, like you said, is kind of a community service. And it's pretty amazing. So you have some that you've offered for free. You have some that are super sophisticated that people can subscribe to or get.
Absolutely. They're available for download from our website. I encourage people to try them out, have fun. Let us know your feedback, what you like, what you don't, where we're missing the mark or the goal, and those maybe that you really need or could find useful. That would be a great inspiration for us as well.
So one of the things that you kicked off your little demo with, and thank you for that, it was helpful, was you were really talking about not requiring dynamics. So can you kind of elaborate a little bit on that? Like, what does that model look like for our customers? Is it bring your own database? Are we got some SQL backend, or how does that work? What does that mean?
Yeah.
Can you detail that
So
a little more?
it's really driven by the real market situation, right? We work with customers who predominantly have dynamics. Could be dynamics field service, sales, etc., as we talked about before. But many times we find out that they have departments or teams of workers, field workers, that don't have dynamics because maybe it's too much, it's too robust, too much functionality that they wouldn't really need. Sometimes the price is a factor as well, but they do perform a lot of jobs and tasks in the field, right? Not your typical field service, but in realms of inspection, it's a very typical use case. People who go out and have to collect some data on regularly, could be once a month, could be once a week, etc. So we figured out, okay, these customers are already Microsoft shops, right? They have Microsoft Azure, they have Dynamics, etc. how could we enable these teams to benefit from the mobility that they really need? That's the tool that they need, without having the robustness in the backend. So the one particular demo that I showed today, the backend is Power Platform. Dataverse is the database. So what we did, we just enriched the database, the Dataverse, with a couple of custom tables. So we created assets, we created jobs, we added projects. We integrated our scheduling component in there so that you can schedule some of the work, and we added time. What do we call it? The timesheets functionality, so that they can track how much time they actually spend doing some work, and all of this at the price of the Power App license, right? Plus Resco on top of it. But it really changes the game for companies who already are investing into Microsoft, but need like an alternative approach to mobilize and digitalize their people who don't need the robustness of Dynamics products.
I love it. And then how do you guys support that in the long run? Like, is there just like, I'm buying a license, and then if I have a problem with the mobile, I get support from you guys directly?
Absolutely. And it's I think, and my personal, probably one of the most favorite departments at Resco is our support team. Really, really great, talented people. They care about the customer success. And I hear a lot of praise for many, many customers that we work with. So we have you covered.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. I know we only have a few minutes left, so if anybody's on the live stream right now, if you wanted to put any questions in the chat, we could answer those too directly. But I don't know if you have any final ideas or thoughts, and kind of you guys had a little bit of a roadmap discussion, which we all missed if we weren't in Valencia having oranges and cava. What is or prosecco? I forget, what is it in Spain?
Cava. Yeah, you're
cava,
right.
isn't that right? Mimosas.
Agua de
the best
Valencia
mimosas in the world. Yes. But you probably had a roadmap session, I know. So what are some of the things that we could look forward to, as we think about Resco and kind of the evolution of the platform and just your org? Where are you going?
Yeah. So number one is our existing product, right? That what we have: field service, field sales, inspections capabilities around the Resco native applications. This is where the market can expect our continued investment. I like to call it the universal app, because it's not really just a mobile app anymore. Like, as we discussed, that around 30% of our users use them on laptops or Windows tablets. So continuing investment into this product to make sure that we're staying top and best performing enterprise grade universal application out there. Based on our tests, we're 5 to 6 times faster in performance than any competitor out there. The robustness of the user experience, backed by the offline and sync engine capabilities, that we really see as our key differentiator going forward, and want to make sure that there's continuing investment into that, adding new features, new functionality, and to a big time driven by the feedback from our existing customers and their needs. And the second area is the inspections. So we are working really hard. We released it or showed the first version of our inspection questionnaire functionality that we're now building in a way that it will be usable across many different applications and experiences. So what I mean by that, not the questionnaire that only works in the Resco app, but a questionnaire that works in Microsoft Teams, that works in the Power App, that works in Power Pages, and maybe any other application that customers might have, with a robust capabilities, stability, ability to work with lots of data, capture a lot of data, right? The pictures that we talked about, 200 pictures per questionnaire, a strong rules engine, backed by a lot of AI capabilities. So we taken the burden of designing everything from scratch or doing it or manually but the rules engine that is backed by AI designers, the questionnaires, the views and forms, etc. So that's
Mhm.
really our big investment right there, and some interesting AI models that we're starting to work on. But I'll talk about those maybe in a couple months. But that
Sure.
gets me
Sure.
really excited.
Yeah, everybody's, looking at AI as it's pretty amazing, some of the capabilities that are out there. But yeah, putting them in your system so they're super dependable and give you the consistent results that are needed,
Mhm.
especially. But it's pretty amazing. Yeah, I uploaded a couple pictures of like a job site and then
Mhm.
just said, hey, look for OSHA violations in this picture
Mhm.
and rank them from 1 to 5. And sure
Mhm.
enough, that thing is really good at that kind of stuff. But
Yes.
getting the output and scoring and some of the other things, it's not always
Yeah.
consistent. So
Yeah,
it's like,
this
yeah,
image
I'm
recognition we had for years. I
yeah.
remember because I still like to do a lot of demos, but it used to
Mhm.
be my big passion. And I think like maybe 4 or 5 years ago, we were using the Azure Cognitive Services. So I
Yeah,
trained
yeah,
the model by like publishing a lot of pictures, and then as part of
yeah,
the demo, I would take a picture and it would tell me what kind of spare part it is, right? Especially
yeah,
if you have thousands of spare parts in your
yeah.
catalog, it's hard to find the right one.
Yeah, inspections is going to be a big one for compliance and violations, and looking at video, analyzing pictures. I think is one of
Mhm.
those where up to now, it's always taken people to look at that kind of
Yeah.
stuff, and at least getting the first pass of tagging the images so you can find them later, or whether that's like you're showing annotating those images, or classifying the images as this is a violation, or yeah. What's the part number of this? Kind
Mhm.
of a thing. So, what's it? Go look up like a part lookup thing. So it's pretty amazing. Very very cool stuff that's going out there. So I'm sure you guys are furiously working on trying to, everybody's
Yeah,
got to have an AI story now. So
exactly.
that's pretty funny. So, anyways, all right. Well, thank you, Ivan.
Here,
And
thank
I
you.
don't know if you have
I don't
any.
even know how 1 hour went by. It went
Yeah,
so
we're
quick.
done. An hour is gone. Yeah, just like
Yeah.
that. Bam. All right. All right. Well, thanks. Thanks, Ivan, and I appreciate it. And thanks everybody else on the stream today, and for our time that we get to spend together. And I want to just encourage us all to have a great week. I was thinking about it today, and I posted it up on my LinkedIn and my Facebook today. There's with what's happening in the world today, there's lots of stress. We've got so much going on, and there's a lot of people are just feeling it right now. And so I encourage you to go hug your family this weekend, go to the park, get out in nature, turn the TV off, leave your phone at home, go spend some time with your friends and family. Give them a hug, be kind, and thank you all, and have a great week. And we'll see you again super soon. Thank you.